Good morning, everyone. Welcome. This is Angela Coulter and
Sarah C. Avignoni.
bringing you this week's Ascended World. So let's see, we're continuing down the path of tapping into our heart, right? Tapping into our passion, tapping into our core. Last week we talked about what is not, like the hidden things that we don't want to talk about, or the things we don't want to face. And, as we progress and part of what we do as we progress is we live and live in more from the heart. And when we live and live more from the heart, we give ourselves more permission to do what we call live our passion. Right.
Right. And I've discovered as I turn more towards that there are things that are just so foreign to me, and I immediately go to that place of judgment. But how can that be? That's within me. That's part of me. That's what I want. And how could I have lived my whole life shutting that out and get into that whole, cycle of beating myself up, punishing myself, being angry with myself, forgiving myself, coming back around. And I mean, it's a cycle within this cycle, which makes it, doubly, triply challenging.
Yes, seriously. Oh, excuse me. There's the yawn to reinforce that.
Right.
Yes, because it's a big thing. And how many times have we, anybody watching or all of us? I mean, I know I do it and you do it all the time. It's, oh, I see something in myself. Oh, that's so liberating for 3 seconds. And then the fourth second comes the judgment of, why did I do that for so long?
Right. It's like you find $100 bill on the road and you pick it up and you've got that split second of oh my God, look what I found. To the Mack truck comes and flattens you.
Absolutely. So but then that's what we do, and that's okay. We talk about it a lot in terms of when we do shadow work, right? Because shadow work, a lot of times we uncover the shadow and then we see something and we're like, oh, I see it. And then the next thought is, why do I do that? Why did I create that? And then there's this judgment of what kind of person am I to like this, to have, so much that I would create it my reality. And
right.
And so that's the whole thing with the passion. Yeah.
And this pulls in so many other things that we've just recently talked about. I know when we were, we had Yasmin on and we talked about the value of just sitting with things and just being there. And that's a huge part of this. And that's the part that once that self-judgment starts to, it's like that wave getting ready to curl right over the top of you in the ocean, and just say, I'm just going to be here with this and see what it is that I've been missing. And that's why it's orbiting instead of residing.
Right. And so,
that's a wave crashing over you and cleansing through that.
Well, yeah. And
refreshing.
What a great metaphor on that, because I mean, washing through you, right, is a great cleansing. Yeah, exactly. And the whole piece of, okay, so let's follow our passion, right? Let's follow our passion. And it's like this. I've had so many situations where I've helped people to find that or explore that. And I remember this one person saying, well, she explored this part of herself. And as she did that, it was like she realized that everything around her was in black and white. And this one thing, this one passion thing, was like this saturated, vibrant color, and she goes, it's like watching those
IMAX versus the other theaters,
Yes. Or even just like the old black and whites to IMAX, kind of thing. Wow. And then she's like, and then I look around me and I'm like, well, crap, why did I build a life that's all black and white? And there's the judgment, right? And then there's a self-judgment of, well, it's my fault because I created it this way. So now I want to change it. And now I'm going to hurt people. I'm going to, disappoint people. I'm going to disappoint the world because I'm changing who I thought I was, right? So these are the things that come up as we face possibly hitting our passions, right? Walking into our
Right.
passion.
Right.
Because it's like once we see things with a different lens, and also, have you ever seen those videos where they have those glasses now that that help colorblind people to see colors?
Yes.
And you just see
Yes.
how overwhelmed they get when they first, put them on. That's sort of like what happens when we really tap into, this is something I truly am passionate about, right? Or this is
Mhm.
part of expressing and embodying my passion. And so then we go, okay, oh my gosh, I want everything to be this, right?
Right. And you, I don't know if it's you come to a different level or, I always think of the Grinch. It's like your heart grows and it's no longer in the little frame and it just grows. And it's like that changes everything.
Yep.
And it doesn't change it, and we've talked about change and about how that's the only constant in the universe is change. And it's like em- embracing it versus fighting it and judging it makes it so different.
Right.
And it really changes where you are.
Yes.
It changes where you are and your relationship to everything. And everything gains that saturation
Yeah.
of the feeling. So those things that were, go one way or the other. Either you really embrace them or you like, nope, this is not for me.
Right.
And things that you were passionate about, you may go, well, but that really doesn't resonate with this new tone. So maybe that's not for me.
Yes. Yes. Or, yes, what happens is this, let's back up on that a little bit, because one of the things to understand is wherever we are right now in our consciousness, our passion could be different in 5 minutes, wherever we are in 5 minutes. Right. And that's okay.
Right.
What's for us to realize though, one of the biggest steps for us to realize is, okay, so why are you passionate about something? Okay. Is it truly because it makes your heart sing, right? It makes you be, and really the underlying true consciousness version of passion is fully embodying love, right? Fully embodying the love that you are. And that's unconditional. And that's just a presence of being, right? So it's not because you're doing something, it's you do things from that love versus I'm doing something to get that love, right? And
Right.
so one of the biggest steps is for us to realize is the things that we liked before might not necessarily be aligned with that when we come to that place of truly expressing ourselves as love, as unconditional love from that passion. And not to judge ourselves, right? To say, because a lot of times then we'll start to see the sneaky little ego underneath all the things that we thought made us passionate before, right? Like,
Well, and there's the true passion that is what we're talking about. But then there's also the passion of the ego, who is very passionate about staying alive, exerting itself, staying in that position of keeping us safe.
right.
So that at times feels very passionate.
Yes. Yes. And so it's well, it does, because then it's like, oh, look at how good of a job I'm doing this. And so it's so proud, which is ego talking to ego, right? And I'm so proud. I'm so excited to show that I created this, right? And then when we switch that away from ego into expanded consciousness, and it's, I am being all of this love that I am, and I'm just overflowing into the world, and everything I do infuses with that. And you know what? Oh, look at this. Before that was actually just in black and white or 70s color.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And it was
right.
like,
The RGB.
that's right. And now I'm in UHD and IMAX and 3D, or whatever, or 5D or whatever you want to call it. And it's like, and when you go from one to the other, it's not that one's to be judged. And it's just that all of a sudden you go, well, if I'm here, why do I want to go back to here? Like, it was a great step along the way. And I'm grateful to have taken that step. And now I'm going to allow myself to do this, you know, and it's conversations that I'm having right now with someone about it's not something else that brings you passion. It's you allowing yourself to embody your passion, to infuse it in everything else. And then you decide on what you do and what you are from a completely different mindset, right? And so it's okay to let go of that.
Absolutely. And it in the success I've had in making those connections, it's a whole different clicking in of finding those things. It's so easy and natural that those passions just slide in, and you know it. It's that instant knowing and connecting, like coming home. It's that natural, yes, this is it.
And the other stuff starts to become dull, right? So like, because, okay, and let's give examples so that people understand what is really what here are things when we do stuff motivated by, okay, there was somebody I knew who for the longest time did professional baking, and she was amazing at it. Amazing. And so I helped her years ago when I had I thought I turned my sound off. Years ago, I had helped her start her business and get it going in the baking business, or whatever. And I remember asking her, why do you do it? Why do you, she had type 1 diabetes. She couldn't bake,
Right.
she couldn't eat her own stuff.
Right.
Right. And I said, well, why do you do it? And she's like, oh, because it makes other people happy. And I'm happy when other people are happy, which is a very externalized thing. And so what happened was she got tired. Eventually she got tired, and she built a really good business and it became national. And then she was exhausted and didn't really have that. I guess she burnt out that need to fulfill. And then she found a different thing in her life that she just loved to do that made her feel really, really good. And you could see the way her light shined so completely differently when she did that. And she ended up one day giving up the business. And it was funny because she was afraid to tell me, like she thought I was going to judge her because, I had helped her get really established in that business. And I'm like, well, that served you for what you needed to do in your life at that point. And that's great. And now if you find this and you're moving on to this, great, even better.
It's like giving someone a fish or teaching them how to fish. Right. You taught her how to fish, and she fished for a while there and moved on and is now fishing somewhere else. So that's really successful.
Right. And so the key in that following our passion is to recognize, number one, that they're going to change as we grow and expand in our consciousness. Right.
Right.
Our passions will redefine themselves as we redefine our being and how we are. That's just going to change and that's okay. And that's the biggest thing. We get so attached is the problem, is the challenge. We get so attached to what we've been, to what we were, to what other people thought of us, to how we were perceived by others, to, like the role we played in our family, to all that kind of stuff, right? To say, okay, well, no, now I'm ready to be this and do this from here. And what I've told people is, the biggest jump for that is when somebody has been really stuck in a role where they're sacrificing themselves, which is a vast majority of adults today. Right.
Well, and the vast majority of, look, there's a whole service industry that counts on people wanting to sacrifice themselves for someone else.
Right. Absolutely.
And there's a different way to approach that.
Right.
If that is truly your passion.
Right. Well, customer service is effortless if it's really truly about, like, if you're coming from whatever, because the customer service is usually in support of something, right, that's being done. Right. Or given.
Right. Well, and I found that the quickest way to get to this place is to, like, Angela and I participated in a silent retreat on this past Saturday,
which was
and fabulous. I wasn't quite sure what to expect, but in participating, there was no reading, no writing, no speaking, no making eye contact with anybody, even though that this was an online event. So had it been in person, still no eye contact. And I think the thing that impressed me the most was that it was so much easier to connect into my heart than when there's phones and television and radio and buzzing around and that whole experience of the external world. Because I always felt that it was something that I had to really work at to connect in. And once we got into that silence, it just was there.
Right.
And I think that that is something that we don't give ourselves on a regular basis.
I know. I was thinking, how can I do this monthly? Like set a day up for myself monthly and do that myself. Just do it myself.
Absolutely. I think monthly is a minimum.
Right.
A minimum for that. And, you know, if you could experience something like that for even 30, 40 minutes a day, you know, and start small, 5 minutes, 2 minutes, you know, but the key is start.
Yeah. Yeah.
And allow that connection. Cause I believe that as, you know, it's just like any path. What is it? You walk down the same way 7 times, and I believe it's considered a path.
Mhm.
Maybe it's 10, something, but so that's a week that you've created that brain memory of this is what I'm going to do. And it becomes easier and easier to take that 2 minutes and make it 4 minutes. Hush.
Nicole says, yeah, I'm peeling back the layers of story to connect with my passion. And, you know, there are more steps to that journey. Oh, so she says, well, I call that nope time when I say no to everyone but myself. Exactly. And it's turning off the phone, turning off the computer. There was no reading, no writing. And it was funny because like, I don't know, it was about an hour into it because it was a 6.5 hour thing. And it was like an hour into it was, oh yeah. You know, for a while I would go away by myself and just for like, you know, into a remote place and just sit for a week and whatever. It's like, oh, this is what I used to love. I mean, this was like up until whatever. And then I would even go before retreats a couple of days by myself and just have that quietude. And I know that my guidance is 1,000 times clearer when I do that.
Yes.
It is
Yes.
and it is so in my heart and so clear, crystal clear. And yet I have more and more slipped away from allowing myself that. And so I'm like, after Saturday, because about an hour in, I was like, oh yeah, there I am.
Right. And that really is what I saw was like, there you are.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you've really been here this whole time when I've been looking for you, and you've really been here.
Yes. Yeah. And then it was great because yesterday I sort of got to extend it a bit because my husband and I were moving mulch most of the day, which was a great, you know, I had no phone on me. It was just
Right.
doing something that, oh, I love the earthy smell. I love the earthy smell of the mulch and, you know, just the way everything just feels so alive as you put it around everything. And yeah, and it was a good presence. And I was like, oh, look, here I am again. I didn't have to talk for a long time. And I don't even know how long it was because I didn't have my phone on me. At some point I was like, oh, we've been doing this for 3.5 hours. That was crazy without even. And then I thought about what you had said about like the weekend before when you had been doing stuff, or I think it was like the week before where you had been doing something in the yard with the rocks or something. And you're like, I'm just going to be present with what I'm doing right this moment.
Yes. Yes.
And so, and that's the whole thing, is that's really what presence is about, is being completely present with yourself. And it's the saturation of where you are like right now. You know, on the retreat, the person leading it was quoting somebody else who had said something about like, what if we immersed ourselves so completely in our life, like in this moment, that that's all there is. There's nothing, there's no anxiety, there's no anger, there's no fear. You just are, you know? So the thing is, though, to recognize there's several steps along the way, several 100,000 steps along the way of recognizing, you know, we think, oh my gosh, what would that be like? You know, like, have you ever seen the memes out there with like a house, like a cabin in the woods of nowhere? And it's like, oh, for $100,000, would you stay here for a month with no internet, no fun? I'm like, in a heartbeat.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
In a heartbeat. But the thing is to go inside, and we talk about going inside because that's where it comes from. So when we're giving examples of what we think our passion is, when we say, I do this so for other people, that's a key that it's for ego.
Right. That's not for you.
Yes.
That's for a perceived deficit that you're trying to satisfy.
Right. Which then makes you feel good about yourself because it appeals to others' egos, right? And it makes them think that you're a good person and all that. So then you do. So, you know, which of course is going to probably irritate the entire spiritual community, because we always talk about being in service to others, right? Oh, my passion is being in service to others. And it's like, is it really? Or is it because it makes you feel like you're a good person because you're contributing to that goodness that we decided to judge the spiritual world, right? Or is it, so here's where it shifts. I am so in love with myself. I am so in a place of love with myself that I am so overflowing, and I can't help but be the change I want to see in the world and show others that it's okay for them to do that too. Because the more of us who do it, the more the wave happens.
What happens is you doing your passion, the natural consequence is that it helps others. It's almost like a side effect. It's not the action, which I think that's that subtle difference in you helping yourself is actually helping others, not helping others to your detriment.
Right.
So
which it is really, at some level to your detriment, because if you're giving over receiving, which of course we have made to be an, you know, exalted thing, is giving is more important than receiving. It's like self-nourishment, number one priority, self-focus, number one priority. There is only us, and everybody around us is simply a reflection of ourselves, right? So if we're constantly pushing, how's this for a thought? If we're constantly striving to accommodate something outside of us, we will never, ever reach it, because nothing is truly outside of us. So we will always be reaching and never accomplish, never attain, right? When we realize it's all here, it's all here, all here.
And it always has been.
It always has
been and always will be. We can't lose that.
You had those ruby slippers on all along, Dorothy.
That's right. That's right.
So yeah, so the first step is to recognize that. And you know what? The ego will balk. The ego will balk and get angry and judgy and be like, how dare you? Like, oh, and how selfish that you would want to do something just for you. Right.
And what an inconvenience to everybody else you're letting down by doing this.
Right. Right. And so we're talking, like, I've been working a lot lately in a group of where we're talking about your life is your PhD, right? And if you look at it that way, right? Because the thing that you look at first is, well, what has your life given to you as a PhD? What have you created for yourself in your life, you know? And that's from where you are then to express yourself in the world, not something that I had to attain at a school or whatever. This is my choice of my journey. And this is what I'm here to communicate through my actions, which is all me, and me.
No two people have the same experiences.
No, and that's what's beautiful.
No two people can have the same PhD.
Yes. Yes. And it's so
so
beautiful.
uniquely yours. And that, you know, we equate that to that's your note in the universal symphony or the
Yes.
multiversal symphony.
Absolutely.
And the more you focus on that and the more you practice your note, the sharper it becomes and the more it encourages others to practice theirs. So the sharper theirs becomes. So then the symphony becomes the symphony that shifts the universe.
Right. And that's our goal, up leveling, right? The up leveling, there's the up leveling right there.
There's
And it
the
all comes
up-leveling.
from being completely self-central. And notice I didn't say self-centered. I mean, it's because self-centered has a negative connotation.
It
Self-central
really does.
is
Right.
just being that coming from love and passion from inside out, not from outside in. I don't have to serve everybody else to show that I am worthy of being loved. I am love itself. And therefore I can effuse the fountain, and outward when I allow myself to tap into that well. Think about a geyser, right? Like if you tap into a geyser, it goes, right?
Right.
Tap
It
into
can't
your
help but
heart.
explode.
Right. So think about tapping into your own heart. When we tap into our own heart, that's what we do. And then we have an endless amount of energy. It's just constantly flowing from us. And then it does get infused to everything we do. But that's the shift. It is like we sit there and, we were talking about this last week on a call with Yasmin, when we were talking about how you were talking about how you came to the point of realizing it's important for you to just become passionate with yourself.
Right. Because if you can't have that passionate relationship with yourself, you can't have it with anything else.
Right. Yeah.
And that's the place to start, because until that overflows to others, you'll always be trying to fill a void externally, and it's an internal void, a perceived internal void, not an actual one, just one that you believe is there.
Right. Right. And so instead of judging ourselves, it's to say, well, where's my PhD? Where's my PhD? What is the PhD I chose in this journey to embody, that I have this unique perspective on the world with, and claim it. Claim it.
Yeah, dust it off, frame it.
And not see there's
yep. And your phone agrees.
There's my phone, even though I have twice turned my sound up. So I'm obviously missing something. This is a new phone, so I think I'm just missing where I'm supposed to get all of the sound. Oh yeah, there it is. Oh, there we go. But yes, so and many are going to ask, how do I do that? How do I even tap that? Because we have so many layers, like Nicole's saying, she's peeling back layers of the story to connect with her passion. That's the thing, is we have these stories that we've convinced ourselves I'm only valuable because I'm doing this. Nicole says, lol, the alarm went off when I thought, but jokes are my passion. Right. I mean, and we say things like that to ourselves and we think that's ridiculous, but it's like, there are so many things that allow us to express our joy, our bliss, or whatever. And they come in so many different packages. And sometimes it's a butt joke. Sometimes it's whatever jokes, it doesn't even matter. It is.
And sometimes it's sitting in silence.
Sometimes, yes. Yes.
The judge of whether that's something that serves you is, does it stir that feeling within your core?
Right.
That's the only thing that matters, not what you think about it, what others think about it. It's are you accessing that place in that silence that you see yourself?
Right.
You recognize yourself.
Well, and that you're, and here's the other key, and where you are purely present in that moment, because there is nothing you'd rather be doing and no place else you'd rather be.
Right. And, like I said, start with a minute, start with, 30 seconds, wherever you feel comfortable starting. But the key is to start.
Yes. Yep.
The key is to start. And, I saw something, on that lovely Facebook, that, not fake it till you make it, try. And if you fall down and fail, try again. And keep doing it, and keep getting up and getting back on and trying again and again and again. And you'll be surprised that it actually works.
Right. Right. Eventually. If you're persistent, right? But it was funny. And yeah, so we've been meditating and doing self-work for, ages and whatever. And yet found such a huge benefit to doing that silent retreat, which, now I'm going to incorporate into all the retreats that I do, like a part day of that, because really helps us to get back to the core, back to the seed of who we are.
Right. I like that, Nicole. I told my children, be it so you can see it. Yeah, because the seeing it comes from the being it. That's exactly right.
Yep. And that's the whole, how we really change the world is being the change, being
Right.
that passion, being the embodiment of saturating yourself in that presence in every moment and every day. And, people say to themselves, well, I can't do that because so-and-so is doing this, or it's a duplication of doing that, or this person already wrote a book on it. But it's like, but that's their voice. That's their journey. That's their PhD, and you have your own. And so we all have how many billions of people on the planet, and how many billion stories of our PhD and what it is, the journey to remembering ourselves. That's what the PhD is in, is what the journey is to remember our divine self, right?
Every journey starts the same way, with the first step.
Yep.
And unless you take that first step, you're not going to begin that journey.
Right. So see, it all comes back to self-work, right?
Right? It really does. Everything does.
Everything really does. So when people say, how do I even know? Because you know what, I sit in sessions with people all the time and say, so this is where we're going to start. What is it that allows you, not brings you happiness, but allows you to, like be happiness and have your heart sing? What is that? And I like 90% of the people I talk to, when I first say that, they have no idea, because they've never actually looked at happiness that way. That they've always been, oh no, my kids make me happy, my spouse makes me happy, my dogs make me happy, my cats, my career makes me happy. And it's like, no. None of that. Take it off. And I'll say, I'll put you on a desert island and you can have anything you want, but no people.
Right.
And so then what would that would allow you to then express that joy or express the passion or whatever. And a lot of people say, I have no idea. And so that's why it's so crucial for us to start inside, by quieting the voice, by meditating, by just being present, by learning how to do that. No matter how that works for you, there's a million different ways to do it. Find your way, find your flavor of ice cream.
Exactly.
And so
I think that should be the clearing today.
I think
figure out so that we can make that connection to what our path is.
Yes.
To that connection and to that access.
And allowing ourselves every step of the way, free of judgment, in a place of acceptance and gratitude for every step of the way.
Right.
Yep.
Absolutely.
All right, you ready?
I am.
So everybody close your eyes, take a deep breath, step out of separation, back into wholeness and oneness as we hold ourselves at the vibration where that is our truth. That is from where we exist, create, and experience. All right.
I need to go back and do that some more.
I was just thinking the same thing. I'm gonna get off. I think I might do that for a while.
Yeah, it's the first thing I heard was that I could see it, and it was about the first step is give yourself permission to do this, because I think that we really we judge it so harshly that in giving ourselves permission, others see us and that gives them permission.
Right.
And that for some reason we feel we need permission to do this. And we were talking about titles, and I have no idea what you put as the title, but I mentioned passion play. And it's like, this really is the playground. Is connecting with this passion becomes that playground. And maybe that's why we need permission to go to the playground. But I saw so much of that, and it's like, once my permission settled in, it was like I was just getting started on the playground when it was like, okay, we're done. It's like, no, I'm going back to my playground.
Yeah. No, I know. So I'm holding that space to go, going back there. Going back there. Left the door
Right.
open for when I get off.
Absolutely.
I'll push everything else back a little bit just so I can spend a little more time there.
Right.
So great. Yeah. So everybody's sitting that this week. And you know what? That connects to, like, to start connecting a lot of the dots that we're going from week to week. So 2 weeks ago, we talked about the glimmer thing, right? The glimmer
Right.
exercise, right? And that's the glimmer exercise is like giving ourselves permission to remember those moments where we are just fully in that place
And
of,
that's really glimpsing glimmers of the passion
yes,
and who you really are, because that's how the passion's sneaking through the little cracks and crevices is
Yes.
in those glimmers.
yes. And then we grow them to glows, and then we grow them to existence. And so we're taking steps, right? And this is what we're working with right now, week to week, in case you
Right.
didn't think we had a bigger picture kind of strategy.
I think we had a plan.
All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us. That's the home play for this week, is to sit in
That's
that
right.
and give yourself
And don't
permission.
forget to like us, and don't forget to subscribe if you're listening on the podcast, and follow us on Facebook. We're here. I don't think I can be here next week. I haven't told you that, but we'll be traveling. So
Right.
I don't
So
think we'll be here next week.
maybe in 2 weeks. Instead
Right,
of,
in 2 weeks.
right.
But yeah, comment. Let us know. Let us know
Yeah.
what you think. Let us
Yeah, we have
know
a
if
lot
you're
more com-
practicing.
We have a lot more coming. We're just getting ourselves ramped up. So, so breathe into that, and let's take some time getting to that space of that passion inside, because everything grows from there. So on that, we'll let you go. This is Angela Coulter, and
Sarah C. Avignoni.
signing off with this week's Ascended World. Have a great one.